Andrew Perry was in the Royal Australian Air Force, a sniper and a weapons instructor. But to his stepdaughter, he was her everything.
He came into my life and he sort of created a sense of you can be yourself, you don't have to be under my control, so to speak. So he kind of created that relaxed environment. He was civilian Andrew and he was military Andrew, and then he was hobbyist Andrew. And all three of these sides sort of coexisted in a really nice flow.
The bond between Andrew and Kamaya grew stronger, right up until his final deployment in 2013.
He'd been deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, the latter being Afghanistan. When he returned home, it was like the one personality. It was the rigid, the work Andrew, and we were trying to convince people for so long that he is not well and he will do something bad.
Andrew did receive help, but every time he came home, his problems would resurface. His widow, Bonnie, recalls the worst of it.
He didn't get out of bed for 3 days, didn't eat, didn't drink, didn't do anything. And I said, "Are you having an affair?" Because that's what I thought was going on. He goes, "No, I'm just a useless..." And that's when I realised he was sick. I called his administration officer and said, "There's something seriously wrong with my husband." And they said, "Oh, should we pull him out of the war zone?" I said, "It's not my call. It's not my call. I'm not a psych." And they said, "Oh yeah," and nothing ever happened.
You wanted to help him, but you didn't know how, so you felt that every move that you made was going to be detrimental.
So when was the first time that you witnessed him trying to take his life?
He was in the garage, on the floor, with a blade, slitting his wrist. All I could do was take the blade off him, give him a hug.
And so how old are you at that point?
I would have been about 17.
And how many times all up did you become a witness to or a party to these incidents where he tried to take his life?
There was at least 4. 4 from memory, and I think the rest of me tries to shut that out.
Obviously, the military talks a lot about being a big family, a big community. How much support did you get in terms of counselling from Defence?
While Andrew was still alive, we were entitled to 1 family counselling session.
A week, or what are we talking about?
1 single counselling session.
Total?
Total. And that was it.
Tragically, on the 17th of December 2015, Andrew took his own life.
Do you think Defence is aware of the impact of PTSD and other mental health issues on the families back home when people return?
From my experience, absolutely not.
The Defence Force may not be, but Dr. Peggy Brown, who is one of the commissioners investigating defence and veteran suicide, has seen the impact on families.
Children often don't get heard, and yet we know the impact on families and children. The impact doesn't stop with just one person.
I wouldn't have been mentally ill if I hadn't have served in the military.
Sarah Watson served with the Army for 18 years. Her military career started badly.
I was walking back to my room and got grabbed and dragged from behind by a bloke and pulled into his room and was sexually assaulted. I was told that if I made a formal complaint about what had occurred, that the perpetrator would be removed from training, and because he was a foreign cadet sent back to his country with a pretty poor fate probably awaiting him, so that if we could deal with it in-house, and that would be the preference. That was very much the culture. You didn't make a complaint, you didn't ask for help, you got on with it, you sucked it up and you towed the line.
Sarah graduated and her career blossomed. 16 years ago, she was deployed to Iraq as an intelligence officer.
I provided the top secret conduit to troops on the ground so that we could provide early warning and good intelligence so that they stayed safe. However, it wasn't long before The fatigue set in and the nervous system got a bit overwhelmed.
Sarah's plea for help fell on deaf ears.
I remember telling the psych, I don't feel myself, I don't feel right. And they said, oh yeah, that's pretty normal. We might put you on to follow up when you get home. So I did that, got home, had a follow-up psych appointment. And they said, yeah, nah, you're fine. Go back to work. I had not addressed any of my trauma. I boxed it up nicely and shoved it down as deep as I could put it. I did that because that's what we were built to do. They built us to be these types of people in the military where you don't show emotion, you don't complain, you don't talk about your emotions or feelings. So that's all I knew. That's all I knew how to do, and that's what I did.
Sarah eventually left the military. She was pregnant with her second son, but the mental scars were still there.
I definitely had a huge amount of suicidal ideation. It was constant. I couldn't get out of my own head. What was the point anymore? I was a crap mum because all I would do is cry or, you know, I hated myself. I just didn't see the value in being here anymore.
Her sons became her saving grace.
I had a reason to get up every day to my sons, so that's what kept me alive.
Every year we keep hearing more of those sorts of harrowing stories. It's really important they're told, I think, especially on the Daylight Today. If that story has raised any issues for you, there is help. You can call Lifeline. The number is 13 11 14, or also Open Arms, 1800 011 046.